Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Star Trek Critic, where we comment on everything about the show like we know more than the producers ever did. Today we have a landmark episode, the only television show where the second part was a blockbuster movie, which in turn rebooted the Star Trek franchise. Plus, despite popular belief, this episode televised the first interracial kiss. Kirk and Spock kind of bicker in this teaser, and Kirk is kind of rude to Uhura. They get sketchy information on the ship, so go to full alert, which means for the crew to run frantically around the bridge. And this, of course, is Space Seed. The Enterprise comes upon a lost sleeper ship from Earth full of genetically engineered humans who tried to take over the world in the 1990s. And now they try to take over the Enterprise. I will have to take the first point here. If you don't know anything about a derelict ship in space, you shouldn't get so close to it. The only information McCoy can get is faint life signs, and Spock can only read the name on the side. The Botany Bay left Earth incognito. Here I am going to take 1 point for continuity errors. Spock refers to the Eugenic Wars as being Earth's last World War, while later Trek says the Third World War was around the 2050s. McCoy is the correct one in this round of bickering, since Spock is generalizing that all humans on Earth were involved in the genetic engineering. Kirk also sees this as an opportunity for MacGyvers to actually work for a change, while it seems here that MacGyvers is a little annoyed that actually doing her job will interfere with her painting. Is this the first time McCoy says something about the transporter? Look closely, Scotty is on the left, and Kyle is on the right in blue. Now Scotty is in the transporter pad. So why is Scotty's arm operating the transporter and not Kyle's blue arm? So, -1 point. Good news about this superhuman race, the women like to wear bikinis and fishnet stockings. It's a good thing Scotty told them there was oxygen on the ship, or they would have all died instantly since they didn't put on any spacesuits. Scotty is in heaven right now. MacGyvers describes what the ship is all about, and I will have to take a point here since the Trek writers overestimated technology by still an unknown amount of years. Genetic engineering, interplanetary travel, and suspended animation are still way off. Scotty finds the light switch, and here is where MacGyver's IQ starts to drop about 30 points. I think Ricardo Montalban has that effect on women. Kirk notices immediately, and he's not too happy about it. Another point is lost here since Western is not an ethnic demographic at all, and the term Oriental quietly changed to the more accurate Asian one day, but Scotty didn't get the memo on that one. MacGyver's is a good guesser, but I'm sure the Sikhs would also like their religion to be recognized as well. Here they have to make that quick decision on whether or not to break the glass. Look closely, Kirk drops his phaser while he's breaking the glass. This isn't even safety glass, but I can't take a point here, since hibernation units might have their own specifications on what kind of glass they need so they will work. And if you look even closer, McCoy keeps deciding on whether he should pick up the phaser or not. He never does. Kirk tells Khan they estimate it has been 2 centuries, since they aren't really sure yet, so I can't take a point. Trek canon has decided it is actually 300 years. Normally I don't like captain's logs after commercial breaks, but this one explains to you that they're not touching the other pods until they can revive the first. And in the 2 minutes that have passed on the commercial break, 10 hours have passed on the Enterprise. They are truly plagued with mysteries. No logbooks of any kind on the ship, and Spock can't figure out why there would be a prison ship during that time period. Earth was recovering from a world war and resources were scarce, and they really had no planets to go to. Oh look, sickbay has a plasma TV. Bones discovers Khan is harboring an alien, like Men in Black. Dr. McCoy needs to be careful what he asks for. Kirk gets after MacGyvers about her conduct on the ship. She's really good at BSing her way out of this one. But bad news, Kirk, she's going to get worse. Khan has a 300-year-old hangover. Luckily, genetically engineered Tai Chi will solve that problem instantly. McCoy loses a point for leaving sharp objects out in the open for patients to grab and then threaten to kill him with. Shout out to McCoy for standing up to Khan, who had a quarter of the Earth under his thumb, but I think he's going to throw that scalpel collection out after this episode. So Khan is a bit of a jerk here. He has questions, not that he should know where Starbase 12 is, but when Kirk asks him questions, he suddenly gets a headache. I bet he learned that from his ex-wife. Kirk also loses a point here for showing a perfect stranger how to access technical plans of the ship. -1 point here. Their computer should have some type of facial recognition program, especially since Spock said 80 were missing and even has a list of names. They should have figured out who Khan is by now. Spock notices Khan is up to something. We'll get back to that later. Ironically, one of the biggest problems of the original Star Trek is that many of their guest science officers are women, which is good since they want to bring more diversity to the Trek future. But the plots still have the women constantly falling for the big strong man type who is actually a total asshole. So shout out for having female science officers, and -1 point for MacGyver's acting like a Khan groupie. All she wants to do is ride his Cadillac with its fine Corinthian leather. Khan is a total player. Here it comes, the scene you've been waiting for. When Khan goes into MacGyver's quarters and discovers she is obsessed with painting tyrants, and he makes his move. Ricardo Montalban is Mexican, playing a Sikh Indian, and Madeleine Roux is Caucasian, playing a Caucasian, possibly Irish. So shouldn't that combination make this television's first interracial kiss? That is not how you arrange silverware, at least not in this century. The dinner party is similar to the dinner in Star Trek VI. It's much like watching a chess game. Unfortunately, neither side wants to leave the past in the past. If this was the next generation, Picard would have tried to hear Khan's stories of how they tried to unify the world in an effort to see if Khan would try it again. While Kirk is more straightforward, accusing him of running when the planet needed him the most. Are they drinking Romulan ale? Khan has to go back to his room and pout. MacGyver comes and says she wants to apologize, but we all know that's not what she really wants. Khan's genetically engineered ambition is apparent here. He has to have it his way, and MacGyver's is a big pushover on top of that, which really just boosts his ego over the top. Oh look, they finally found a picture. Plus, he was the worst tyrant. And Scotty, Kirk, and Bones all recognize him and his history too. So why did it take so long for them to figure out who he was? After all, he was laying on the sickbay bed for 10 hours. -1 point for Khan being in a Starfleet uniform, considering he is not in Starfleet. Khan is very modest about his abilities. -1 point here for only having one guard outside of Khan's room. Genetically engineered Tai Chi will teach you to open any door, and it's very easy to escape when the one security guard is just doing push-ups against the wall. Kyle has no speaking parts in this episode, but he does get to come back in Star Trek II. Khan made a mistake here in reviving everyone. He should have waited until they got to the starbase. Then he could have taken over Starbase 12. Luckily, they all revived faster than Khan. He almost died, and it took 10 hours to save him. Here's a technical question. Can you tow a ship at warp speed? Also, there would have been engineers from the Enterprise on the Botany Bay all this time, making it impossible for Khan to recover his crew, so -1 point. Another point is lost, since Spock would have noticed when MacGyver's beamed 72 people aboard from the Enterprise. The Botany Bay doesn't have a transporter, so it all would have been done from her end. In a matter of seconds, Khan was able to cut off communication, turbolifts, and airflow to the bridge. And here is where Spock tells off Kirk. Didn't he make a similar mistake in Star Trek II? The attack is sound but wouldn't work since the bridge isn't airtight and there are still escape hatches and ladders. It would be months before they ran out of air, so -1 point. Khan should have used neural gas like Kirk suggested doing to him. That would have worked instantly. The star dates are too close together for the time elapsed, so -1 point. Khan tries to recruit the crew. Another point I will have to take is that Kirk never contacted Starfleet about finding the Botany Bay, asking what they want him to do with a ship full of criminals, and now he's in decompression. Uhura is treated really rough right here. At least it brought MacGyver's back to her senses. If Khan was more cordial, they would have given him Ceti Alpha 5, but he wants a planet with people to rule over. Ironically, it's MacGyver's who saves the day. His stalemate with the bridge crew gives her time to turn off the monitor. MacGyver's is a lot like Seska in Voyager, changing sides whichever way the wind was blowing. In a lot of ways, she's more dangerous than Khan. Right now, Kirk has a really bad case of the bends. One of Spock's best defenses is his control of emotion, as you can see here, since a human would have reacted differently in that split second. As you can see, people act strangely when they are gassed. Khan runs out. Scotty punches a guard. Uhura tries to get the computer online, and Spinelli heads for the door, but turns around and says, "Oh, I think I'll just pass out on the table instead." Somewhere along the way to engineering, he's going to meet this guy, and he will never forget that face. Spock tells Scotty to meet him at the armory, which makes it convenient for Kirk to have his weekly fight in engineering alone. At least this time he took a phaser with him, but it didn't last very long. Khan likes to blow everything up when he's backed against the wall. I bet good money that he's going to try it again sometime. So while we're waiting for the ship to blow up, let's watch the stuntmen fight it out. Personally, I don't think this pole would have caused that much damage to Khan. He's too strong. Here they come for sentencing. Unfortunately, Uhura doesn't have a dress uniform like the others. Kirk drops the charges and says they will be left on City Alpha 5. I secretly believe Kirk called Starfleet Command on what to do with him, and Starfleet said to drop them off there, and Kirk is taking credit for that decision. This also gives them a chance to drop off their problem child, cause she's the one that got them in this mess to begin with. Scotty learns a little bit about Milton, and Spock would like to visit in 100 years, although he's a few years off of when they actually go back. And then they discuss, maybe we should leave them a radio so they can call for help in case the other planet blows up. And they're all like, nah. So, how far out was the Botany Bay when they found it? This ship had been traveling from Earth for 300 years, but nowhere near close to light speed, so it couldn't be that far out. If you put the episodes in order by stardate, the previous show would be Return to Tomorrow, so the Enterprise had just left Earth, which puts them much closer to Earth than usual. So it would be quite logical to find a straight Earth ship, and since they are already heading to Starbase 12, and there is no way in hell they would want to take these people back to Earth, they would simply tell Khan they're going to Starbase 12 and not tell him how close to Earth they really are. So I will not be taking a point for the Botany Bay being farther out than it really could get, even though it probably is. And the show that sparked a movie sequel that rebooted the franchise gets a score of 84%. Madeleine Roux had 100 screen credits, including It's a Mad, 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 Mad World. Unfortunately, she was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis and struggled with that for the last 25 years of her life, and was also in a wheelchair and continued to work until the end. She was even lucky enough to have a guest star role in an episode of Fantasy Island, where her fantasy was to fall in love with a genetically engineered Superman with visions of taking over the world.
Who is Khan?
Ricardo Montalban was born in Mexico City and became a legend in Hollywood with nearly 200 screen credits. Mainly Latin lover roles, but will be remembered most for his portrayal of Khan in Star Trek and Mr. Rourke in his own TV show, Fantasy Island. He also starred in the Chrysler commercials and was a big promoter of a Latin presence in Hollywood. He suffered from a spinal injury and spent his final years with a wheelchair. He will be missed, but we will see him again one more time. That's all for now. Thanks for viewing. Leave your comments below, specifically, when is it considered an interracial kiss? Click that like button, the share button, and the subscribe button, and I will see you again real soon. If you want to get technical, wouldn't this be TV's first interracial kiss? And wouldn't this be the first TV show that became a movie? Khan, you've changed.